Hello and welcome to Eat, Sleep, Code, the official Telerik podcast. I'm your host, Ed Charbeneau, and with me, as always, is John Bristowe. How you doing, John?
Hey, good. I hope everyone out there is doing well, too.
It is Monday, but I'm doing as well as I can do for a Monday, especially if I turn my lights on. That helps.
What, in your brain? Metaphysically, are we talking?
No, I just turned my camera light on. I was on the side-by-side. You probably couldn't see in a little postage stamp view, but I was podcasting in the dark, as I always have been. So how are things going for you, John?
Good. Incredibly busy, trying to hire like crazy, building lots of great things. What else is new?
Trying to hire like crazy. Who can we hire?
Yes.
What are we hiring for, sir?
We are hiring for a variety of roles at Octopus. If you go to octopus.com/careers, there's a bunch of job roles there. And we do hire remotely, and we're looking for folks who know things and maybe have some good experience. And so if that sounds like you, maybe check it out.
So that was octopus.com/careers. Did I get that right?
I believe you did.
Octopusdeploy.com.
Oh, no, it's octopus.com/careers, plural.
I'm getting some weird hijacked website. I'm not getting the right thing.
Right.
I was going to paste the link in chat, but it's not coming
Nope,
up for me.
that's okay.
I'm getting redirected into something not safe. So,
Okay, never mind.
yeah, not sure what that was about.
All right. That is our domain, octopus.com. So, or you could just Google Octopus Deploy and take a look at our careers page there.
I was off by a character or something. I must have spelled that.
Well, that helps.
I'll drop this in chat for folks if they're interested.
Thank you.
There we go. So, we cover news on the show. We do the news thing. We talk about things that are happening. We'll throw that Octopus Deploy thing up there for a minute
cheers.
too. And what we got?
Yeah, we got lots of roles there.
Lots of stuff open.
Yeah.
Remote within Australia. Does that mean all of? Oh, there's some USA here too.
Yes. So we try to keep our engineering to a certain geo, but if you feel compelled, go ahead and apply anyway. It's not unheard of that we may have hired someone overseas.
Excellent. Good stuff, my friend. So we got some interesting stories this week, and this is one you added, and I both hope it is and isn't what I think it is.
Ha.
Can I
It's the
email?
yes. So it's can I use, but for each HTML-based email. So
Oh,
can I use is like looking up features that you may want to use, and this is useful. It's not. This isn't a new idea, by the way, but I stumbled upon this site and I thought, oh, this is a nice way of actually representing this. As fortunate as it may sound, sometimes you're tasked with the unfortunate work item request to implement an email system that is an outgoing email system that is based on HTML. So you may have to, if you're working on a system that automates email, this might be something you might want to do. Now, you might use a variety of tools that are out there. There are a variety of tools that handle this for you. But if you are rolling this yourself and you are generating HTML email as part of that, this site will help you understand what is available, what is not, how you can structure these emails, and what clients, most importantly, are their support on. So this is an important sort of aspect of this because not everything is supported in email clients. Email clients actually have a bastardized version of
I
HTML
was gonna
compliance.
say try
Yeah,
nothing. Next to nothing is
yeah,
supported in
yeah.
email.
Text is always king, and then after that maybe something else. But I mean, if this was 1998, this would be awesome. But the reality is you still have to do this to a certain extent. So if you have to, this site might help.
Yeah, I've been tasked with these in the past, and they are miserable experiences to deal with.
Yes.
And anybody that has to deal with this on a regular basis, my heart goes out to you. This is painful stuff, and I'm not seeing. Oh wait, here it is. Is it? Nope. Hang on. I've got another story that coincides with this
Oh, okay.
very
Yep.
closely because this reminds me of Internet Explorer. So when IE, you thought IE was bad, like when IE was we were in like the IE9 phase, and people were like, oh, as long as I don't have to do IE6. Like
Yep.
email was worse than that
Oh yeah.
when I
Oh
had
yeah.
to do email HTML. So it's pretty bad. So something like can I use or can I email is very cool. But it reminds me of having to deal with legacy browser support. So like
Sure.
while IE is dead, this email stuff is like the long live IE.
All
IE
right.
is dead. Long live IE.
Sure.
It's in email development.
Yep.
So it looks like we're finally sunsetting IE, and they're officially pushing people onto Edge.
Yeah. Why not?
But it's not happening until June 2022.
Eh.
So the headline sounds great till you read the details. It is going to be in consumer versions of Windows 10 no longer after June 2022. That's still a year away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a lot of
it's
kiosks and government terminals and school computers.
in
So
finance, business world,
sure.
finance systems. Yeah. So I can't wait to say goodbye to IE. Finally, like get this thing behind us and get onto evergreen browsers. But then again, we have to deal with email.
With email. Yep.
So
It's a
I
cockroach technology. Have you heard of
it
that
is
term? Cockroach
yes.
technology? It's like after the nuclear winter and all the technologies have died, the last living technologies will be those that have the ability to survive the nuclear winter of, I guess, obsolescence. So cockroach technologies include, i.e., internet email, jQuery. I could name a few others, but
jQuery. Poor jQuery.
yeah,
So if you look at I did CSS Grid really quick, and you look at support for CSS Grid, it's like Apple Mail. Apple's actually on top of things. You scroll
sure.
over, Gmail, no dice. Outlook, no dice. Yahoo, who uses? Okay, I'm discrediting you if you use Yahoo Mail
Is
or
CompuServe
AOL.
listed?
Anyway, some of the third-party ones Like
Sure.
Mozilla Thunderbird Mail uses it. So it's the very tech savvy folks can use these things, but the rest of the world brings you down. Outlook's going to be like a big player in this game. So if you see, red marks on the "Can I email" in Outlook, then you're pretty much nailed down to that for the rest of the platforms too. You're only as strong as your weakest player in this game. So if you're gonna do something like this, "Can I email" is a good place to start. And people give these frameworks like Bootstrap and that a bad rap, but they do come in handy. And if there was only something like that for email, and there is, so I used Foundation for many, many years for doing front-end dev. And it's a fantastic framework. It just so happens that Bootstrap took over that space pretty heavily, and not a lot of folks are using Foundation anymore. But there is Foundation for email. So if you have to do these, I don't know. There's probably other email frameworks out there, but this is this is one that is probably going to have a very low learning curve for most folks. If you're coming from like a Bootstrap or a Tailwind background, it's going to be very similar to those type of things.
Neat.
But
Cool.
it works for email, and it's got like a responsive grid, and it makes everything so much easier. Pretty cool, huh?
I guess. I'm not. I just thought I'd mention this. It's one of those unfortunate realities that we have to deal with. So.
Yeah, so like these email things, they rely a lot on inline CSS as well. So inline styles.
Yep.
You don't get to even use like external style sheet with a lot of these things.
Oh yeah, and
so
a
they
lot of
have
them block. Yeah.
They have a tool that you can either use here. I believe you can run this on the command line as well. That will inline, so you can put your CSS code in it. And then the HTML in it, and it will inline all of the styles where they would normally appear in an inline style fashion. So
Cool.
you can still have that web type of separation of concerns, and then you can generate your final email code out of that. And I think they call that maybe Inky or something like that. There's a tool, I believe, you can install along with this. They got their templating language and stuff that goes with it. So good tools. Folks at Zerb, they're fantastic. They make some good stuff. So
Let us never talk about this again.
Yeah. Hey, you brought it up, my friend. This is your...
This is the only time.
You didn't expect me to have experience in this area of expertise. But unfortunately, I do, and I'm still hurting from it.
All
So IE's dead. Long live IE. Use Inky, or use Foundation email. Tech news, man. This is really a cool vehicle that just dropped
saw
in the
this.
U.S. The Ford F-150 Lightning. Just because it's tech, do we have to put Pro on it? Like, it's not.
Sure.
It's not an iPad. Come on,
Ultra.
folks. Just because
Supreme.
it's tech related.
Service Pack
but-
1.
Right. As long as you don't buy the Ford F-150 ME, I think you'll be
Sure.
okay.
Yep.
That was an old Windows joke for folks out there. Yeah. Anyhow, the things that are pretty cool about this truck is the fact that it's got such a large battery payload on it. So that lets it go about 300 miles with the extended range battery pack on it, which is pretty a pretty good distance for an EV, especially of this size. It has a big enough battery, and I'm imagining it's that extended range battery. It says you can power your important essential systems at your house for about 3 days on that battery. So, maybe keep your refrigerator going for a day or two, and maybe some lights in your house to keep things going during a power outage of some kind. So that's pretty cool. And there was also some talk about how these can be used to alleviate some, what do you call it? I can't remember the name of this thing. Is it the duck neck? What is that thing called? Where the high usage hours of electricity, like the peak hours,
Okay.
if you're not using your truck, it can feed back into that power grid and alleviate some of the strain off the power company. So it takes, you think about the peak usage, it ramps up when the day gets hotter and more people are working, and then it drops back down at night when people are going to sleep. Instead of having this wave that's constantly going up and down, these trucks can feed back into the system and kind of taper that off. And we'll use a 2020 term, John. We'll say flatten the curve, so to speak.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I had a Ford F-150 back in 1983. It had it was baby blue. It had 2 gas tanks, and you'd have a switch next to the cigarette lighter that would switch from one to the other. And I remember also it had a canopy. This thing was massive. And we called it the Blue Bazoo. And you could see it from the parking lot of our school. And it was like the most obvious vehicle in the parking lot. So these things are not small. I'm a big fan of Ford F-150s. And this is awesome that they're going electric. That's fantastic. I doubt we'll see these in Australia for at least a decade, just because of the nature of Australia. We don't see technology for a long time. But yeah, good on Ford for getting into this space. I think Elon is definitely trying to get more competitors in this space to make it more viable. I mean, he's stated very publicly that Tesla is trying to save the planet, basically. And so I'm sure he's probably pretty jazzed about this. I can't see why not, because, we do need this. We need more competitors in the EV space. So good on Ford for doing this. This is awesome.
I think essentially it probably helps him too, because this is going to bring about more charging stations and that sort of thing.
Yes.
So the infrastructure will come with more of these vehicles coming online. And I could see how these might take a long time to get to Australia, John. It is a long drive to get there.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, great.
It's
Plus
only got a
there's that
300-mile range. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know. You got to do it, little increments. And also, get the issue of the steering wheel being on the wrong side, yada, yada. So.
Yeah, that and water. But anyway, another interesting little fact about this, and this goes with pretty much all the EVs that I'm aware of, the ones that are full EVs anyway, is it has a front trunk, or a frunk, is I think Tesla may have coined that one, where there's no engine in the front, so essentially you can lift up the front trunk, and there's more storage there. So if you're into like camping or something like that, you can put some of your gear in the trunk in the front where it's nice and covered, and then other stuff that you don't worry about getting wet can go in the back. It's pretty versatile vehicle. I think it's pretty cool. The price, I think they're fairly close to what an F-150 is. They're fairly expensive trucks anyway. So I don't think this is like a massive price increase over the existing gas ones.
I always love hearing you Americans talk about the price of vehicles. It always makes me laugh.
Why? Let me guess.
But you guys think it's
so
expensive. I'm like, I would love to have the price of a vehicle in Australia. That'd be awesome.
Oh, here we go. We've got the frunk in action right there. So that's what I was talking about. This being able to reverse power and power, like if you're camping or something like that, power your lights and things at the campsite.
Sure.
It's all pretty cool stuff, but apparently it's strong enough of a battery. I mean, it can power some pretty heavy duty stuff, and keep your home lit and that sort of thing. So
what is this guy doing? What's going on in this picture?
Yeah, I read an article. I didn't link it here, but it was like the F-150 is the perfect doomsday truck. And I guess Ford got a little too high on their horse about the fact that it can withstand like 3 days of power outage and power
Okay.
your home and all this stuff. And they started kind of making it into a meme where
Mm.
like we've got a little bit too much advertising. They're like, what kind of disasters are they foreseeing at
Sure.
Ford?
These guys are living in what looks to be a very, very expensive home, dressed up as I put my pants on one leg at a time type people, sort of thing. And they've got this Art Deco house, and the driveway has been freshly, I guess, rained on, and there's this
Yeah.
massive tree branch which has come down from supposedly near the house.
Yeah, I love how none of the windows, the house is completely unscathed, but there's a disaster to be cleaned up, and the truck is somehow helping power the
Mm,
house. If this was my
awesome.
luck, the storm would have taken out the truck first.
Yes, it would have hit the truck. Yes, how does the
Like,
truck last? What's the durability of the truck?
in my luck scenario, the truck gets thrown into the house, so both
Yes.
the house and the truck are not of any use to me. But
How big is the display thing they've got there? I know that the Tesla one is pretty big. That they've gone with the big one here. Okay, oh, medium. All right.
that's not too bad. It's
It'll be
decent.
interesting.
Like
Is actually this will, from a tech perspective, this one interests me the most. What is the operating system? What does it integrate with? Is it Apple CarPlay compatible, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I was talking to a guest on our show last week, Jimmy Ingstrom, and he was saying that he just bought a car, electric car in Sweden. So it's the first car that they've owned, and they wanted to get electric vehicle there, and the dashboard has a gigantic monitor on it, and it
Yeah.
runs a version of Android. So
Yep.
it's an Android Auto, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
And Jimmy was very excited about being able to develop some apps for the car, just, kind of test his creativity there in that space. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Neat.
Very cool. I picked this .NET tip up on the Twitterverse this week, just earlier today, actually. So .NET has templating that is very easy to create these
Yes.
days. So
Yes.
people are starting to publish their template packages up on NuGet, and you can do a .NET install or .NET, yeah, .NET new -I and install templates from the command line. I think you can grab these in Visual Studio's NuGet package manager as well these days. But this one is by a good friend of ours, Steve Smith, R. Dallas. And this is a clean architecture template. So it's all set up for clean architecture. So good separation of concerns, kind of, dropping some of the stuff that you probably don't need from the project, and just organizing it in a general way that it's reflective of best practices. So I thought this was a nice share. He was sharing it on Twitter this morning, and I thought I'd pass it along. So if folks are interested in that, they could check it out. So it's
Yeah, there's
he's a,
lots of frameworks out there right now that provide this highly distributed, composable architecture, rather, not disposable. I guess it is kind of disposable. Composable architecture. Mass transit is another one that I've heard referenced quite a bit. Of course, you could certainly roll your own, applying principles as such. It's interesting because this has been always the high order bit for a very long time. For building out these things, we had technologies galore to try and facilitate this. It looks like this is, I guess, getting to the final stages of what we're trying to do, and it's good to see. And I'm glad that it's finally kind of almost a solved problem, almost.
yeah, yeah. I think in the next version of Visual Studio, we'll probably have this down pretty tight. Um, they do have an opt-in right now checkbox that you have to hit in Visual Studio. That if you have these NuGet packages installed, these template projects, they will show up in the File New dialog.
Okay.
So that's a pretty cool feature if you turn that on. I think it's under experimental or advanced features or something like that under tooling. If you Google Bing it real quick, you could probably find out how to do it pretty fast. But you can see these community dialogue or community templates in the dialogue.
Yep.
So I pasted it in chat if anybody wants to check this out. Steve's a
Ooh,
good,
UML. There we go.
yeah.
Shout out to UML.
Yeah, Steve's gonna do it the right way. He's one of
The
the
right way.
guys that I follow for things like solid principles and that sort of thing. And if his name sounds familiar, I mean, it's a very common name, Steve Smith, but if Art Dallas sounds familiar, he does a lot of Pluralsight videos as well. So it's just somebody well established in the community you can look towards for these type of best practices. So give that a look, see what you think.
Cool.
Sublime Text 4.
Sublime Text, yeah. This is, for those who've been using text editors for a while, this actually got hot over about a decade ago at least. Sublime Text was, I think, to a large extent, largely responsible for the success around Visual Studio Code. I would argue that Sublime Text was the text editor of choice about 15 years ago.
Agreed.
And it had a lot of great features, and unfortunately, I think everyone's kind of moved on to Visual Studio Code. Not unfortunately, I think everyone has moved on to Visual Studio Code. And I guess the Sublime folks are continuing their development. So they've recently released a version 4 of Sublime Text. Awesome to see. I will not probably use this. I will continue to use Visual Studio Code, but I'm happy to see that these guys are still iterating and working on this stuff. I think it's important that we have choice.
Yeah, I agree. And this was the hipster tool of choice for many years, like you said. Like if you're doing any sort of front-end development, you're probably familiar with Sublime Text unless you've just entered the industry. I've heard really great things about it. I haven't really used it myself. I've always been on Visual Studio, the full version. I pop open Visual Studio Code from time to time as well. Usually I have an editor for specific tasks like Markdown Monster for Markdown.
Yep.
So if I have to do any kind of light code editing, I kind of reach for Visual Studio. Or if I'm in a full project, I go for VS. Or sorry, I got that backwards, but VS Code for light stuff and Visual Studio for the heavy things. So this is an article that you posted up here on, or not posted yourself, but added to the show. It's just like heuristic.
Why feeling that you understand an idea is a sign that you didn't. So I do this a lot. So that's why I'm calling myself out with this. So oftentimes when you're describing systems, maybe to new hires or to people on other teams, you'll often say, like, what are you working on? And, I'm building this thing and blah, blah, blah. And then the person may interject and say, oh, that sounds like it's just like, Mad Men meets Transformers or something. Like, I'm using a movie reference, obviously. But it sounds like you're building blah, 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 blah. And this article basically gives the background as to why your brain does this, and also how oftentimes, more often than not, if you're in Vegas, you'd put your money on being wrong, basically. And so your brain tries to find we basically are pattern matching robots, if you think about it. Humans have evolved over many, many, many years. And we've evolved systems in our biology to do a lot of pattern matching, and our brain is no different. So our brain tries to identify patterns and try to help us understand these things. This is sort of this is more of an article of just trying to raise your awareness of this. Be cognizant of the fact that sometimes your brain might do this to try and trick you into thinking you know something when you don't. And oftentimes, it's the classic example of you don't know something until you feel like you realize how much you don't know. So that's when you're starting to get close to understanding something. So it's just like is something that you probably should be aware of.
So I think I accidentally closed this one out. This reminds me of an article that I was supposed to have on here. So this is a good segue. This whole notion that you have these cognitive biases and things is pretty interesting. Like this is the reason you're able to pick like faces out of a cloud or something like that. Your brain's kind of hardwired with this kind of bare bones operating system that it can do these certain things automagically, and that type of recognition is one of them. So that's pretty interesting take on it, and it reminds me a lot of this other article that I posted here or brought up because of it's kind of like neuroplasticity.
Yes.
So they did this experiment, and I've got some other experiments I've read about in the that I can share here as well. But in this one, what they did is they added a third. They call it a third thumb, I guess. An extra thumb on an extra hand, or
Yes.
extra thumb on a single hand. So that'd
It's
be
like
a
a
third
kickstand
thumb.
for your hand.
Yeah. So they gave users control over this extra thumb, and after a certain amount of time, they're actually fairly proficient at using this new appendage they never had before.
Wicked.
And it's pretty cool how your brain adapts to this situation. Now, I'm no neural scientist or neurologist or any type of medical background, but from some of the shows and things I've watched about these type of behaviors, it's pretty cool because it's the same type of brain activity that lets you use like a baseball bat, for example.
Yes.
And you start getting good at judging like the range of how far that baseball bat is, and you're able to hit a ball clean out of the air. So it's that baseball bat isn't physically part of your body, but it becomes an extension of your body with enough practice. And there's a great photo there of
Nice.
this girl picking up several balls with the extra appendage there. So I've seen some really interesting things that have been done in the past, even before there were a lot of regulations around these type of testing scenarios. I read about one where they put glasses on somebody. Did I say this on the show before, John? So
I don't think so.
I think it was back in like the 1930s. They had a pair of glasses that switched your left and right vision, and it was a set of mirrors. This was like before technology even. So they put this contraption on your face, and it would switch your left eyeball's vision with your right eyeball's vision. And what they found out is, first of all, people probably puked their guts out pretty fast after wearing this thing. They got pretty disoriented. But after, I think they said it was like 5 to 7 days, people were able to walk like normal and then do activities like normal, because your brain will rewire itself and make this the new normal. And it kind of just learns and adapts to use what
Sure.
it has. And then when they took it off, they had the same experience. Like they got sick for a little while, and then it took a couple days for their vision to switch back to normal and get their normal motor functions back. But I think this is really interesting for tech, because if we can find if we can find a way to interface with these type of things. I mean, if you have a sensor you wear on your arm or some EEG type of a getup, you can control new body parts that
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
exist.
this is the high order bit for Neuralink. I mean, Neuralink is trying to establish a bit of this as well. They're doing the hard work, which is basically how to interact with the brain to provide inputs and outputs for damaged brains, for broken parts of the system, I guess, if you want, for your mind, etc. And so this is on the limbs aspect. So yeah, I think eventually what we're going to do is we're going to become basically spare parts. And I've said forever, like, I've done enough CrossFit to know that my knees aren't perfect. And I've said forever, hey, if they come out with replacement knees at some point that don't require massive surgery, I can just like pop my knee off and pop a new one on. I'd be for it, because I've always been convinced that my body is just a vessel for transporting my brain from room to room, and so I wouldn't miss my old knees, that's for sure. So yeah, I think I'm for this. I don't think I have too many problems with this.
Eventually we'll just be like Futurama, where we're just heads in a jar.
Sure. Yep. Like bionic nerds will be, roaming the galaxy looking for new things to discover, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. You can imagine what this will do for people with disabilities and that sort of thing
Sure.
as well.
Yep.
Having an extra set of arms and hands could be something that happens in the future. You never know. It's not that far fetched. Your brain is capable of
Yes.
being reprogrammed and learn new things, which is
Yes.
just pretty amazing stuff.
Just format the hard drive. So there you go.
There you go. So I'm proud of you, John. You miss my hang
I
on
know
a
it's
second.
coming.
Before we move on here,
I know it's
looks
coming.
like Steve Smith and Steve Smith and Julie Lehrman got together on a new course on architecture on Pluralsight about domain-driven design. So make sure you check that out. Thanks for the tip
Cool.
there from Facebook. Yeah, so it is time for my favorite segment. Can it play Doom? And John, you brought this one upon yourself.
Sure. Oh,
I know
yeah, I
you
know.
just wanted to see this.
Yep.
Oops. I know
Sure.
you just wanted to see the best
Of course.
segment
Of course.
intro ever. What is Doom Capture?
So it's a CAPTCHA for, based on Doom, basically. So, yeah, you just kill the enemies with your mouse. And, you can't hear the audio right now, but, oh, God, you suck. You can't hear the sound, but there's audio in there from Doom. And you basically have to kill the demons. There's 4 of them to kill, and then if you do that, you pass the CAPTCHA test.
This is the
Come
coolest
on,
thing
you can do it. You can do it. Hurry,
ever
click,
seen.
click. Oh my God, dude, you suck. You're terrible.
I didn't
You can't
realize it
even
was
make it.
timed.
There you
I didn't
go.
realize
Yes,
it was
it's
timed.
Yes. So there you go. You passed the CAPTCHA. Congratulations.
This is the best captcha I think I've ever seen.
Yes. So there you go. So yeah, something worth possibly throwing into your enterprise projects.
This is great.
See how this
John.
goes over. We have an HR violation we'd like to talk to you about. You can't
Those are
put
bad,
Doom
okay?
inside the HR app.
Okay, I've just lost my day of productivity now.
Yep. There you
That
go.
was awesome. Another one of your favorite topics, John.
Yeah. What are
It's
we
more.
doing?
I need an intro for hacking your face.
Yeah. Don't hack your face, please. Stop hacking people's faces. Look at this. Look at this woman. This poor woman is having to force this smile. Like, okay, I can put the nerd glasses on me. Ugh.
So,
Why are we doing this?
I guess Snapchat just bought a company that was developing these AR spectacles, as they call them,
Yeah, great, perfect.
because that's not the most old-timey word for glasses. But anyway, so Snapchat, or Snap, is working on, well, I guess they're not working on it, they bought it, and they have people working on these new AR goggles, AR glasses. Why will this not expand? Oh well.
It's okay, we can see it.
Um,
Yeah, here's the guy. He's so excited that it's come. Look at this guy. Yeah, you can look cool like me. Like, no, you don't look cool, dude. You look like a nerd, basically. You look like me. Oh yeah, this will go over well. Perfect. Yeah, this is what people want. Some rotator thing, Yep. This guy will not get pushed into the gym locker at high school. That's for sure.
yeah, you're not supposed to
Wow.
hit a guy with glasses. Come on.
No, I know. Oh, I've been hit with the. I've been
Unless
hit
they're
with
these
glasses on.
glasses.
Unless they're these glasses, that's right. Wow. Look at those things.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So,
I don't understand why people, like, okay, Yes, eventually this stuff will be like this, where you have glasses, but I need these for my sight. I can't see without these things. I don't need a dog to play with virtually, all right? This is not a problem I have. We're trying to create problems basically for solutions we have, which this is really not a solution to anything at this point. Now people would like, look how big those things are. I get it. I get that people want AR in a glasses form to basically provide, to supplement information in the real world. I get it. I don't think this is there yet, nor do I think this will be there for a while. So
Yeah.
don't go
So
out and buy these.
I think the competition for tech has changed, John.
All right.
And I'm not saying this is a good thing. I think somebody wants to be first to market with a successful AR headset. The reason being is if you look at things like Apple and the iPhone, or Facebook and the Oculus, once you establish yourself as like the market leader on this type of device, then you own that ecosystem and the store that goes with it.
Yes, but Apple wasn't first to market. They were in terms of their design and
The
in
iPhone.
terms of getting rid of the stylus and all that. Well, not with the phone, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, they revolutionized what was there. This isn't revolutionary. This is basically taking a VR model and projecting it onto a glass in your face, basically. And I don't think there's much new here. I think when this gets new is when we need a couple of quantum leaps in terms of interaction, in terms of battery technology, in terms of everything, until this becomes a reality, I think. I don't think this is going to be here for another, at least a generation. So I think yeah. I'm not
a lot of
sold
this
on it,
stuff
but-
is being built on the promise of 5G. So the idea is you'll be able to pass data back and forth across the network to be processed offline much faster than you can literally on your face.
It's not the speed, it's the latency. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The latency is going to get you. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. I'll stop.
The latency on 5G is supposed to be small, so that's high bandwidth, low latency. They're expecting real time graphics processing and stuff to be able to happen over this network.
You're going to kill the battery. The radio itself is going to be transmitting constantly, and there is latency when transmitting to antenna. It's going to be a lot slower. So.
It'll microwave your brain, and you won't be able to have kids, but you'll be able to play with a virtual dog, John. I don't see what your problem is.
Fine, I'll
You're
stop.
such a hater.
I'll stop. Yeah, I know. I am a hater. I will admit. Look, I don't. I just know that I'm thinking of the average Joe and Jane. They're not going to want this, I think, for now. But I've been wrong before, and I'm happy to be declared wrong again. But this seems like. This is like a long ways off. This strikes me of those like the future type sort of videos from the 50s, sort of thing. And this strikes me as like a problem or a solution looking for a problem. So
I think AR will take off. I don't know if this is the device to do it, judging by what I just saw on that guy's face. I don't think it is. I had a pair of glasses like this in the 80s that had like mirrors in the corners. You could see behind you, and that was another good example of why do you need that? Why do you need that ability? Like to see if somebody's following you. It's once AR does take off, I think it will be the next iPhone type of event. It will take over.
It's got to look like this. It's got to look like these. And it's got to have no battery pack, or at least a small. Like this is the thing. There's so many, like these big leaps that we need. Battery's the big one. Battery is like and I don't see anything on the horizon yet that's going to really take us there. So until then, we're going to have these. It's going to be like video cameras of the '80s, where one bag is for the VHS beta cassette, and the other one is for the battery. And then you got the camera on your third shoulder if you have one. So,
I mean, there's always these ridiculous hurdles. like I was watching This Week in Tech a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah.
this one of the guys bought like this vintage like cassette player, and it was like when cassettes first came out. It was like after right after 8 tracks or whatever, and you got the regular mini cassette,
Yep.
and it was what's his name? He says how many batteries does that thing take? He's like 4 D cells. It's like, wow, you know how much D cells cost? It's like,
Yeah.
now I can pay $18 to listen to music for 30 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that spot in tech again, and once we get over that hurdle. I mean,
Yeah.
I've still got wired headphones on. I'm not completely wireless here, and if this was connected to a battery pack to power my AR glasses, I'm happy with that. It's just
Fine.
like wearing a pair of headphones, not a big deal. But I don't want to look like that. That's the problem.
No. This is yeah.
They need to be
that's not-
like you said, what you have on your face.
That looks like a
They-
kaleidoscope from the 80s. You know those little snap things that you used to play with as a kid?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I have to say they look better on her than they did on him.
Oh, yeah,
I
they
don't know
look
if that's
terrible on
the
him.
same-
He's like, I'm just going to throw on my glasses here. I'm like, oh my God, nerd.
Look at cool guy there.
Sorry.
That's-
No, not cool guy. That was dude. This guy is me in high school. Like I had the Casio watch and everything. Getting pushed into lockers. So max
we've-
headroom.
we've-
Yep, perfect.
Yeah,
Yep.
there we go. There's the. That's what we need. There's the visual there.
I think we're using a lot of references that people don't understand, but there you go.
I know people just are like, what are these old guys talking about now?
Yeah.
What's a max headroom? Google it.
I don't.
Oh,
it
shoot,
just
I just
yeah.
closed
I
it.
just don't like it, and I feel like it's again. I think we're trying to. I don't know. I think we're trying to find ways to solve this. We're not there yet, but credit to them. Good on them for trying. So
Yeah, it'll get there. It'll get there. John's like, hopefully not in my lifetime, but it'll get there.
no, it's just look. If they look like my glasses and they work like my glasses and they can augment and they're, the other problem is a lot of them have video cameras built in. Like, who's going to want to talk
Well,
to
they have
someone who's
to,
going to
yeah.
record? Yeah, but it's like
That's
I
a
don't want.
given, though.
I know, but I don't want to talk to you if you're going to be recording my conversation. Like, it gets really uncomfortable. It's like, what am I going to say now? Like, that's going to be on, some social media network somewhere because I've said something. So.
Well, don't say
Gotta be
such
really
offensive stuff, man.
I'm not. I'm just
Don't be
saying,
such
it's just like you trip up and you say things and like, oh, that's the clip. That's what he said. That's what he meant. Sort of thing. So, anyway.
There we go. I need AR so my neighbor's lawn looks clean when it isn't.
Perfect.
I've had those neighbors. I feel your pain. I was just ranting on, I think it was like Facebook or Twitter. Somebody was like bashing homeowners associations, and I'm like, I'm not a big fan either, but I've lived in communities where there's not one. And I had a neighbor that decided they were going to put a dumpster in their front yard because there weren't rules. And that was a lot of fun. So, yeah, the AR to cover up your neighbor's lawn would be acceptable in my book.
And then I'm going to get the AR glasses that prevent me from seeing your AR glasses. So there you go.
So what we really need is an AR app that can convert tabs to spaces and spaces to tabs and settle that whole debate once and for all.
Okay.
So if I look at your code and it's tabs, then it'll just convert it to spaces and on the fly, just like magic.
Perfect.
You heard it here first. If somebody does that, I deserve a piece of it.
Yeah, it's called the compiler. So.
Chat's having some fun with each other. This is great. And then we've also got a bot in here advertising followers on Facebook. Yeah, I know it's a bot, so I'd tell it to go fly a kite, but it's just a bot. Anyway, this was a tweet or something you grabbed, John? Was
Sure.
this yours?
Yeah. So web performance tools are vast and extensive, and there's lots out there, and they can be categorized into a variety of buckets, I guess. And so there are some that are free, there are some that are not, but what this Twitter account WPO Tips does is put out a monthly update as to the state of the landscape around web performance, specifically the tooling. So if you're looking for a tool to help you with image optimization or load testing or uptime monitoring, these are some of the ones that are listed. And it provides a good summary and maybe will help shorten your search time finding a tool to help you with one of these categories.
Excellent. I just was busy banning a bot, so sorry about that, John.
No worries.
Very cool stuff, though. And this week, just on a final note here as we finish up, I just want to say Microsoft Build starts tomorrow. It is a live virtual event again this year. So if anything good came out of the pandemic, I think this is one of the things that is something we needed and we're kind of hesitant to do until we made it a necessity. So events being virtual, or at least partially virtual, I think is something we need to continue in the future. So people that don't have access to these things can get in and watch content and learn. And Build is virtual this year. So sign up today. I put a link in chat. Make sure you register for that and jump on this week and check out what they're talking about over at Microsoft.
Cool.
I expect we'll hear some things about cross-platform dev with hybrid Blazor apps, which will be really cool. So Flutter is pretty heavy after this whole write once, deploy everywhere type of application framework. And it looks like Microsoft's doing the same thing with their Blazor framework. So that should be something that will be talked about over the week, as well as many other just generally cool things that Microsoft's been up to, like machine learning and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, these guys, Microsoft, excuse me, these guys. Microsoft does a good job on the virtual conference side of things. So I'm actually looking forward to this. I watched a little bit of Google I/O. It was kind of Apple does a good job, a lot of polish on their virtual conferences. So I mean, credit to these guys. Virtual conferences are hard. I mean, it's a hard attention span to get right. But definitely looking forward to things that they're going to announce. If they announce anything, great. But otherwise, I'll be looking forward to some of the sessions to help me. And definitely hope that delivers something for you guys as well.
yeah, I didn't catch Google I/O directly. I caught up on some of the stuff just over Twitter and whatnot.
It landed flat with me, Google I/O.
Yeah.
There wasn't much there. It was more of there was a lot of shiny stuff, like AR stuff and all that. And I was like, okay, shiny in terms of like, ooh, that's cool. But I wasn't too taken away. So.
And then the Apple's events are very much like hour-long
Marketing.
infomercials.
Yeah.
They're overproduced. They don't have a genuine feel, not one bit in the slightest. So
No, there's nothing. There's nothing in the Apple ones that you can definitely say, "Oh, that looked like a mistake or a misstep or miscue or anything like that." It's all very polished, and to that, I would say, it's okay to see the human side of a company sometimes. And so I would say to folks at the Apple doing that event, I'm like, you should guys do some live stuff. It's okay to stumble. They want to see the human side of you, so.
yeah, if you stumble or flub a line with an Apple event, you probably get put in a bin with all the Lisa computers. So
Okay.
you get uninstalled and redeployed in a future time. But there's some genuine folks here at Microsoft that are presenting this week. Folks that we know right here in the screen
Yep.
shot that's
Yep.
in the opening here. So good people. Tune in, see what they're talking about. We'll probably catch up on it next week and talk a little bit about what they said ourselves. It looks like we got questions in the chat about Should I invest in a Blazor WebAssembly app to build spas, or should I go with React, Vue, or Angular? The answer to all of those questions is always depends, right? So if you are very proficient with JavaScript and you love it and adore it and you do Webpack in your sleep, then Angular, Vue, React are all really great frameworks to do those type of things. If you're a C#.NET developer and you're very proficient and productive with Visual Studio and MS Build and don't want to write JavaScript and would rather do C#, then Blazor WebAssembly with SPA applications is very, very good as well. And it's just going to get better with the next release of .NET. So all of those are very good choices. And you say you like to write C# on the client side, then Blazor's perfect choice. Cannot go wrong there. Can't go wrong with pretty much any of those.
Yeah, the thing I would say about that is, especially if you're new to the industry, it's hard. I get it. You're coming into an industry where a lot of it is, especially with developers, I don't know why this is, but it's very hype driven, meaning it's sort of like if you're not using X, then you're a fool. Why would you use Y? You should be using X. And I think that there are various reasons why that's done. And I think the hardest part is I understand why people kind of like get confused because they're like, well, I should do the X. But then again, there is this Y thing that people have been doing for years. Which one do I pick? And I would say pick what makes you happy. And if you like doing C# code on the client side, then Ed's right. Go with Blazor. I mean, that's exactly what it's partly there for. You'll be more proficient. You'll probably make less mistakes, and you'll probably be happier. So, but then again, if you're wanting to, if it depends on requirements. That's why Ed says it depends. It depends on both technical and not more importantly, non-technical reasons. The non-technical include: are you good at the other language? Are you experienced at the environment? Do you have the tools? Do you have the money to buy the tools if they're going to cost you money?
What's the makeup of your team at work?
Correct. What is your team like? What is your culture? What is everything? Everything gets involved in that sort of discussion. And so typically the hardest problems we have to solve in our industry, which is software, are the non-technical problems. Those are always the hardest ones to solve. Technical problems are easy because we understand how to solve them by and large. And if you don't know the answer, you can always go to Stack Overflow and find your answer there. I'm kidding.
Right.
But it's the non-technical ones that I think have to be applied here. And I'd say you've answered your question yourself, sir. You like to code C#. So I would say stick with C#.
Yep. In one last piece of advice I can give is if you're considering any of those frameworks, the thing that you should learn really well first and foremost, and this is something that has helped me a lot, is learn HTML and learn CSS. JavaScript frameworks will come and go. The HTML and CSS doesn't change that drastically. It's been fairly consistent over the last 10 years. You get new HTML tags and CSS picks up some new features, but it doesn't completely upend and overhaul itself every year like JavaScript frameworks tend to do. So learn those things inside and out, and things like Blazor will come very easily to you. So will things like Angular. I could pivot between any of those frameworks, and there's going to be nuances I won't get right away, but I could jump from one to the other. I was helping TJ with the question on React just the other day, and I don't really know squat about React, but I was able to just get in there and plug in a couple lines of code and show a demo off of how I thought something should be done. So learn HTML, learn CSS, and let the rest kind of come to you with the JavaScript frameworks.
Yeah, the last thing I would say is I use this analogy with my sons when they're doing things in life that they have to take a swing basically. So whether it's something you deal with at life or you have many at bats in your technology career. What I mean by that is In this case, either if you're on a baseball field or a cricket pitch or what have you, you've got to swing at the ball. And so sometimes you're going to miss, sometimes you're going to hit the ball and they're going to catch you and you catch it and you're going to be out. But you got to take a swing and don't be afraid to make a mistake. Because oftentimes what happens as developers is we look at our spectrum of technologies and we're like, ready, set, aim, 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 aim. And then it's like, you never fire, you know, it's like, just fire, like take a chance, you know? And so I think that I think any of those technologies will be suitable. You haven't picked something that is out of the ordinary. Now, if you were to say, should I use Angular or should I use COBOL, I would have some questions. But I think you'll be all right.
It's the old analysis paralysis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
All right. I think some new folks are just joining us as we're kind of getting ready to close up the show here. But and Curious Drive with the cricket reference there. So thanks for joining us, John, and thank you for coming with your topics to talk about this week. We've got other shows coming up all week long. We're back to our normal schedule. We had our big release week last week with the Telerik UI releases and the Kendo UI releases all week. So we've got our normal shows, which is Sam's chat show, which is a nice podcast. We've got TJ on Wednesday with React and myself with the Blazor Power Hour. And then Friday is Alyssa with UI Fridays. There's all sorts of stuff all week long. We've even got a VR show on Thursday with Alyssa and I. So we're doing all sorts of crazy stuff here. Lots of coding, lots of dev stuff. So
can I make a request for you guys? I want to see one thing. I want to see more breadboards. I've been playing around with these. This is an old school thing that I've been getting back into. I want to see more breadboards and circuitry, and bring some hardware into the equation.
All right, I have to go in my garage and get the
soldering iron.
The bit that I made out of discrete components. So I think it's 4 to 6 resistors, two transistors,
a partridge in a pear tree.
And I think it's got 6 leads on it. You attach your power, and then you tap the leads, and you can flop the bit from 0 to 1, depending on which side you touched high. So I can dig that guy up.
Cool.
That was fun
to
make. I also have a mini function generator that I made. I think I talked about it on the show. It's about yay big. It's about 2 inches long, about 1 inch high, inch deep, and it does square wave, sine wave, and sawtooth wave off of 2 9-volt batteries. So you could power all your breadboard projects with different wave cycles that you want. And you could fully tune it to different frequencies and amplitudes. That's sitting around the house here somewhere too. So that's something I haven't done for a while.
All right. Well, there's my request. More hardware.
Yeah. There you go, John. When does your IoT Code It Live show start?
Exactly.
All right, folks. We'll be here all week. So take care and just hit follow if you haven't already, and we'll be back soon. Bye-bye.
See ya.